Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Harakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, great most honorable rule well, and shalom to all the brothers doing the work of sharing truth. Got this article on AP talking about these these lab grown meats, because within like the last, really since the Great Reset was being spoken about, since the start of the pandemic. Well, I guess a little after the start of the pandemic. I think it was the summer after like the start of the pandemic when you started seeing like the Great Reset being spoken about a lot. You've had them talking about it was Bill Gates talking about like the lab grown meat. They had like the fly burgers, had the shit burgers as well, the doo doo burgers, and then more recently it's been like the lab grown meat thing has been a thing, and the Beyond Burger, the Beyond Meat, like Impossible Burger, I think it's called, as well. These things where it's basically like, they get in a lab, they sling it in a lab, and then they're crafting crafting meats from just from concoctions, man, from madness, from wizardry. And it's funny because it's there's a few videos I saw back in the day where they're kind of going into like how they're trying to go about and put together these different meats, these different lab grown meats, and it's like the shit's not even it's not even viable, like the scale to which they're trying to make the shit happen. Like it's as it stands, it's not even a real, like if they were to try and replace every chicken with this lab grown chicken, they ain't even got the means to do that. It's too expensive, and as well it's just not gonna be it's like barely, but like the shit exists because man are pumping billions into research, basically into these companies that are trying to put it together. Like Beyond Meat was getting like huge investment, even though it's like they can't really get a return on it because it's overpriced, and it's always going to be cheaper to make actual animals. But they're basically that it's part of that new wave, that like I said, the Great Reset kind of energy, where they're trying to influence, to get everyone invested into what do you call it, into thinking, you need to think about the planet. It links up with the what they called the Georgia Guidestones before they got blown the fuck up. The Georgia Guidestones, where it was saying like, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetuity of nature, kind of thing. Where they're saying like, we're thinking about the planet, we're thinking about the good of the planet. So that's why you need to stop eating meat, you need to become vegan, blah blah blah. But these things that are basically trying to is putting is getting people invested into that system and ready to accept things down the line that will basically be like, be ready to accept things down the line, like worse things, restrictions of more freedoms. Or it's like the thing with having kids, the same thing they have with having kids. Say, don't have kids because there's not enough room on the planet. We're all gonna die, they're gonna grow up, and it's gonna be overpopulation. There was that book that the guy who did the Da Vinci Code, can't remember his name, he did one on like overpopulation. But then it's you think about it, the shit makes no sense, because it's really only in cities where it's overpopulated. You go out, it's like England's a tiny fucking island. Like I think they said like 92%, something like that, is just like woodland, undeveloped land. So it's like, if you really wanted to, if you really needed to, you could build out towns, build out other things without even having a significant impact for like You could easily handle like double the population. But it's because what? It's because people want to be in London, people want to be in Manchester, people want to be in big cities, you know, and around that kind of shit. But okay, let me read it. So it says, "Is it chicken? Here's how the first bite of cell-cultivated meat tastes." And it's funny because they always go down to the taste thing, but not actually what the fuck the shit is even made of. Because it's funny, I remember like with even like chickens and whatnot, the people talk about, oh, the hormones that's been put in them, how, you know, how they've been made, etc., etc. But then what do you call it, when it comes to this shit, no, everyone just, oh, but does it taste like the Beyond Meat burger? The whole promotion they did was just having people try it and being like, can you tell if that's meat or not meat? It's like, oh, it oozes blood and blah blah blah. But then, you know, it's you should think, what the fuck are you even eating? It's some Franken meat, bro, some Frankenstein's monster meat. So it says, when I told my friends and family I was reporting on the first chicken meat grown from animal cells, their first comment was, "You?" Yeah, as anyone would think. And their second comment was, "How does it taste?" And that's how they always switch it to, "Oh, how does it taste?" Like, oh, if it tastes like chicken, I guess it ain't. I'm like, nigga, what the hell are you eating, man? The short answer, you probably heard this sentence before in other contexts: it tastes like chicken. The longer answer, which folds in the "you" response, is more nuanced. Yes, it's strange to think of eating a totally new kind of meat, chicken, that doesn't come from a chicken, meat that will be sold as cell-cultivated chicken after the U.S. Agriculture Department on Wednesday gave the green light to two California firms, Upside Foods and Good Meat. And it's funny as well, because this shit gets through. I think they were saying with other like fake meat products that there were like health implications, but they hadn't studied on the health implications. They didn't really have anything to say about them, but they were just letting it run, like letting the shit ride. So it's you look like the shit is fixed, man. It's a setup. It says, but it's also interesting and exciting to taste test the first offerings of a new era in meat production, which aims to eliminate the harm to billions of animals slaughtered for food. I'm like, my G, like, animals have been, there's a reason animals have been cultivated for food, you know, for thousands of years. Because that's how the shit was set up, man. They could, you know, there's a way that you deal with them. The main issue with how animals are treated now is because of Esau's what's it called? His like the meat industrial complex, where he's gonna have, you know, it's like you watch the videos, it's like, I'm saying you mean to no swine, but I remember them videos of like the pigs getting fucking gassed in nitrous oxide or whatever, where they're just being suffocated, and then they're fucking just there squealing and dying. I'm like, bro, what the hell? I'm like, that's the pig meat is already defiled, but then it's like you're toxifying that even further with that madness. And it's the same with, like, you know, chickens, where they'll have them hanging off the thingy and then just, you know, getting zapped and then getting all kinds of fucked up shit. Then they have the meat grinder, where it's like, yo, if it's any male chicks, then they just get they just get straight minced. Like, this shit is a fucking insanity, bro. But that's Esau. That's him not regarding, you know, his beast, man, not dealing with his beast correctly. That's not the way that shit's been run for thousands of years. That's some shit that Esau come up with. A lot of things on now and how the environment's dealt with, it comes down to how Esau deals with interacts with the environment, man. So what does it say? It says, I'm a lifelong meat eater, but I'm also a victim of the meat paradox, a term scientists use to describe the psychological conflict that occurs in people who like to eat meat but don't like to contemplate the animals that died providing it. Yo, bro, it's funny thing is, if man have been back to the islands, if man have been back to Africa or whatever, they've been to so-called third world. They're not disconnected. This is some shit for you know these people out here that don't actually realize there's people dying. There's people still starving on a daily basis. You know, people that actually experiencing the harsher ease of life. in reality, they just sit, they sit around thinking like, oh yeah, everything's fine, it's all great, it's lovely. But in reality, most people, like the people out there, they'll grow up being like, yeah, it's what it is, man. They'll raise the chickens, they'll feed them good, they'll get, fatten them up, and then they'll kill the thing and then eat it, bro. That's how you meant to deal with them. You let them live, let them get to age, then you kill them and you eat them. It's not that big a deal. But it says, as someone who has reported on foodborne illness outbreaks and slaughterhouse safely, I'm keenly aware that the chicken on my dinner plate probably suffered to get there, and that fact makes me uneasy if I dwell on it too much. So I was open to trying a different kind of meat, and also curious to see if they would taste like the real thing. My bro, and these are the angles they're gonna go at to get people in these things. Because it says, I've tried the plant-based options like the Beyond Meat sausage and the Impossible Burger and liked them, even though I didn't think they were perfect substitutes. To be honest, the Beyond Meat sausage tasted good but a little mealy, and the Impossible Burger was dry, although I may have cooked it too long. In both cases, I enjoyed the taste. The fact you said you cooked it means you might only try that shit like once or twice or something, man. So I ain't even fucking with it, cause it's. But then these things go into what's it called? Soylent Green, that artificial food, man. And that food being made, ground up corpses. So this is what about the artificiality of it all? It didn't bother me that this new cultivated meat is made from cells that grow to epic proportions in big steel vats, only to be shaped and formed. Extruded is a somewhat unfortunate verb that came to mind into familiar cutlets, fillets and nuggets that look right at home on the dinner table. But as with all food, in the end it would come down to taste, and in this case to the larger question behind it: is this new material in fact chicken or an imposter? There's time for the all important mouth test. They're trying to make it a thing where it's just, what's it taste like? If it tastes good, then apparently people fuck with it. But in reality, it's these men are basically trying to turn anything other than the actual the animal that's there, the animal that you've been dealing with for thousands of years. You throw that in the bin, and then not the elites, mind you. But for the peasants, you throw that in the bin, and then you get your Soylent Greens, man. And then that's what you be messing with. That's like the that's how they're what you call it, man. They're messing with this. Let's start with this. So Sirach 12:10, it says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. Yeah. Don't trust your enemy, man. Because when we're dealing with Esau, he's presenting this as, if you're doing a good, you're thinking of the planet, you're thinking of the, you're helping your carbon footprint and whatnot. These men are adding on more and more of these, carbon taxes and whatnot, monetizing. It's funny because it always comes down to money. It's always monetizing the problems that the planet has. But then what? It's really it's freezing. He's doing it for his own what do you call it? For his own good, man. Ezekiel 4 and 13 says, and the Lord Jehovah said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their bread defiled among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. And that's the other thing is we're cursed out here to be eating that defiled bread, man. And part of that is a jacked up state that all these even the meats that you're getting, they're in a jacked up state, man. I remember like after what do you call it? What was it? It was Brexit. After Brexit vote over here, they were talking about the chlorinated chicken. We might start fucking with the chlorinated chicken from the US. because the EU deals, were expiring, and then it's you go into, like I said, all these meat factories, you find all the shit's jacked up, man. Over here we had, what was it? It was what the fuck's it called? There was a chlorinated chicken, and then there was oh, the horse meat. Yeah. Tesco got found to have horse meat all up in their what do you call it? Horse meat all up in their lasagna. It was meant to be beef, but then it turned out it was horse meat. It was like 60-70% horse meat or some shit. And then they had to pull down like a bunch of it, and like, as far as what you're eating, it's you can't even have 100% guarantee. And really, the UK, the EU ain't even as bad as the States. The States is a mess, man. It's funny because there's a bunch of products that, like, you can't even, like Twinkies. Fucking hell. Remember when trying to sell Twinkies over here, and they were like, nah. But that, them diets are fucking absolutely demolished in the US. But then it's, over here it's not much better. But what was that? Yeah, Daniel 7:25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until time and times and a dividing of time. So yeah, he's thinking to change time and laws, man. Man have been eating animals for the longest, man. It's part of the Lamb of the Passover. That's part of our instructions of how, we're meant to serve Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. This guy will have it where you got, some Frankenstein's monster fucking lamb that you're gonna be sacrificing, man. Come on. This guy is out of his mind. But these are the things that, this is part of the draw, this is part of the appeal of what, how he's trying to draw people into that new world order. He's trying to draw them in, trying to get their mind kind of, focused on, like, oh, I need to be thinking about all the planet and everything, and then, somehow that results in you eating some concoction. Yeah. Look at this. Isaiah 29:16. It says, "Surely your turning things upside down shall be esteemed as a pot's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding?" And yeah, it's in the long run. What's all this that Esau's invested in? All this that he's basically tried to come in and be like, "Now we're gonna change these things that men have been doing, these things that have been working for the longest, and just completely frighten the bed and start with some madness." This guy's, he's got certain capabilities within his sciences, his wizardry that he's got going on. So he's like, okay, yeah, now we're just gonna deal with this. It's like GMOs, man. They're like, oh, we can genetically alter XYZ, but then lo and behold, what's the impact that it has on the body? Man ain't coming out till later. They're like, oh, we're gonna switch to using I think it was with like vegetable oils. It was what, trans fats, saturated fats. A lot of products had like saturated fats. These things like started being used, and lo and behold, it's having negative impacts on people's health. And it's like, oh, crazy, how'd this come to? But then what? Because of that key thing, that part of Esau's blessing is what, the money making, man. Him making money, him making that good cash. That's a big part of his blessing, man. These guys wanna monetize and make money off all the wickedness they're doing. So they'll be like, oh shit, it's negatively impacting people. Oh well. And then you have these things come out years, decades down the line, and then again, Sirach 12:10 gets proven true. Never trust thine enemy. But yeah, that's why it's these Franken foods. You just think like, what the fuck is this, man? It said lab grown meat. That don't even sound right. But people are gonna jump and be like, oh, but the animals and blah blah. No, you need to organize how, you know, deal with the animals righteously. That's the issue. That's the main problem there. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom, shalom. Yabashim Shabashim Shalom.